Have you ever noticed that sometimes being overly friendly can backfire? You might think that being nice, approachable, or overly accommodating will earn trust, love, or respect, but often it does the opposite. Some people take advantage, boundaries get crossed, and your energy is drained without reciprocation. The problem we are going to solve today is subtle but powerful. Understanding how being too friendly can impact your self respect, relationships, and personal growth. By the end of this video, you will see why being too overly friendly without discernment may lead to being undervalued, and how you can recalibrate your interactions to protect your energy while still being kind. The first step in protecting yourself is understanding that there is a crucial difference between genuine kindness and over-friendliness. Kindness and over-friendliness. Kindness is rooted in empathy, compassion, and the desire to help without expecting anything in return. Over-friendliness, on the other hand, often stems from a need for acceptance, approval, or fear of conflict. When you cross this line, you may give too much of your time, energy, and attention to people who do not truly value it. Being overly friendly can be subtle. You might always say yes when you want to say no, share personal information too quickly, or constantly accommodate others' demands at the expense of your own well-being. You might believe that friendliness will make people like you or keep them close, but what often happens is the opposite. People begin to see you as available, predictable, or someone whose boundaries are flexible, and over time, this can lead to a loss of respect and even exploitation. Kindness is about giving while maintaining your integrity. Over-friendliness blurs the line between generosity and self-neglect. When you understand this distinction, you begin to notice the subtle ways your behavior affects relationships. Genuine kindness does not require bending over backward or sacrificing your needs. It is measured, intentional, and mindful. It allows you to be warm, supportive, and approachable without compromising your self-worth. Over-friendliness also impacts your internal world. When you constantly prioritize others over yourself, your energy becomes depleted, your focus scattered, and your confidence diminished. You might feel resentment building quietly inside, even while outwardly smiling and accommodating. This is because over-friendliness often means living according to others' expectations rather than your own values and priorities. The more you give indiscriminately, the more you create a situation where your presence is taken for granted. Understanding this difference is liberating. It allows you to recalibrate your interactions and act consciously rather than habitually. You realize that it is possible to be kind without being a doormat, warm without being exploited, and approachable without losing your self-respect. Awareness of this boundary is the first step in reclaiming your energy, asserting your presence, and cultivating relationships where friendliness is respected rather than taken advantage of. The second step in protecting yourself is learning to recognize the subtle signs that people are taking advantage of your friendliness. Being kind and approachable is a strength, but when you consistently give more than you receive, when your generosity is exploited, or when your boundaries are ignored, it becomes a vulnerability. Awareness of these signs is crucial because once you see them, you can respond consciously rather than continue giving away your energy unnecessarily. One clear sign is when people repeatedly ask for favors, help, or emotional support, but rarely reciprocate. If you are always available, always accommodating, and always putting their needs first, but they seldom check in on you or offer anything in return, your friendliness is being taken for granted. Genuine relationships are reciprocal, they have balance over friendliness without discernment, creates an unspoken pattern where your time and energy become expected rather than appreciated. Another sign is when your opinions, preferences, or needs are consistently overlooked. If you find yourself always agreeing, deferring, or compromising to avoid conflict or keep the peace, you may be letting over friendliness, compromise your self-respect. People may begin to assume that your boundaries are flexible, which subtly indeed encourages them to push limits without considering your comfort. Over time, this can erode your confidence, leaving you feeling unseen, unheard, and undervalued. Manipulation is another indicator. Some people exploit excessive friendliness to gain favors, influence decisions, or even control aspect of your life. They may flatter, guilt, or pressure you under the guise of friendship, and you may not notice because your instinct is to maintain harmony and keep others happy. Recognizing this pattern requires honesty with yourself. Understanding that not everyone who appreciates your kindness deserves access to it. Physical and emotional exhaustion is also a warning sign. Over-friendliness often means stretching yourself too thin, taking on responsibilities, offering support, or sharing personal energy beyond your capacity. You might notice a growing sense of resentment, fatigue, or frustration even when you outwardly maintain a friendly demeanor. These feelings are your internal compass, signaling that your generosity is being drained rather than honored. Recognizing these signs is empowering because it gives you clarity. You no longer need to question whether you are being too much or too nice. Your intuition and observations provide guidance. Awareness allows you to make conscious choices, to pull back when necessary, to assert boundaries, and to cultivate relationships where kindness is valued, not exploited relationships where kindness is valued. It shifts your approach from reactive over friendliness to intentional generosity, protecting your energy while maintaining authenticity and warmth. When you see these patterns clearly, you take the first step toward reclaiming control of your interactions. You learn to distinguish between those who genuinely value your presence and those who take advantage, allowing you to act with wisdom, preserve your self-respect, and redirect your energy toward relationships that uplift and honor you. The third step in protecting yourself from the pitfalls of being too friendly is learning to set boundaries and to do so without guilt. Boundaries are not walls. They are essential guidelines that define what is acceptable and what is not in your life. They protect your energy, preserve your self-respect, and create healthy space for relationships to flourish. Yet, many people hesitate to set boundaries because they fear offending others, being seen as selfish, or losing connection. Overcoming this hesitation is crucial because boundaries are not only healthy, they are necessary for authentic, balanced relationships. Setting boundaries begins with awareness. You need to understand what you are willing to give, how much time and energy you can devote to others, and what behaviors or demands you will not tolerate. His self-awareness is critical because it gives you clarity when interacting with people who may overstep or exploit your friendliness. Boundaries allow you to say no without over explaining, to prioritize yourself without shame, and to protect your emotional and mental well being without guilt. Guilt often arises when you prioritize yourself over others. You might feel that saying no, refusing a request, or limiting your availability makes you unkind or uncaring. But true kindness does not come at the cost of self neglect. When you set a boundary, you are not rejecting a person, you are honoring yourself. You are signaling that your needs, energy, and peace are valuable and that you expect them to be respected. Boundaries are a statement of self-respect, not selfishness. Another important aspect of boundary setting is communication. Clear, calm, and firm communication is the key to ensuring your boundaries are understood. You don't need to justify, argue, or over-explain. Simple statements like, I am unable to do that right now, or I need some time for myself are sufficient. Over-friendliness on the street. Over-friendliness often leads to over-explaining, which can dilute the strength of your boundary. Confidence in your communication reinforces the seriousness of your limits and encourages others to respect them. Boundaries also allow you to focus on relationships that genuinely uplift you. When you protect your energy, you naturally create space for interactions that are reciprocal, supportive, and meaningful. People who value your presence will honor your boundaries without resistance, while those who do not will reveal themselves. This process not only preserves your peace, but also strengthens your discernment, helping you invest in relationships that nurture your growth and happiness rather than drain you. Learning to set boundaries without guilt is transformative. It frees you from the invisible chains of over-friendliness, allowing you to interact with authenticity, confidence, and balance. It is the bridge between being kind and being exploited, between giving generously and losing yourself. Once you master this skill, your relationships deepen, your energy is preserved, and your life becomes aligned with respect, dignity, and intentional living. The final step in overcoming the pitfalls of being too friendly is learning to build relationships that are both respectful and balanced while maintaining your natural kindness. True connection is not measured by how much you give, how available you are, or how eager you are to please. It is measured by mutual respect, understanding, and authenticity. By cultivating balanced relationships, you ensure that your friendliness is appreciated rather than exploited and your energy is invested wisely. Balanced relationships require discernment. Not everyone deserves unlimited access to your time, emotions, or attention. Some people will respect your boundaries, honor your kindness, and reciprocate your effort. Others may take advantage or drain your energy. The key is learning to recognize the difference and to invest in those who value and uplift you. Over-friendliness often blinds you to this distinction because the desire to please or to be liked clouds your judgment. By consciously choosing your connections, you create a network of support and respect rather than dependence or exploitation. Respect in relationships is reciprocal. When you interact from a place of confidence and self-respect, people naturally mirror that behavior. Setting boundaries, communicating clearly, and valuing yourself signals to others that your kindness is not a free pass for disregard or manipulation. Respectful relationships thrive on this balance. Your generosity is met with gratitude. Your time is honored, and your emotional contributions are acknowledged. This balance fosters trust, stability, and deeper connection, allowing your relationships to flourish without overextending yourself. Kindness remains central, but it becomes intentional rather than automatic. You no longer offer yourself but indiscriminately. Instead, you choose where your energy goes. You learn to give support when it is meaningful, to listen with empathy when it is needed, and to share warmth in ways that enrich both you and others. This kind of generosity is sustainable and on the street. This kind of generosity is sustainable. It strengthens your connections without draining your resources or compromising your self-worth. Over-friendliness often leads to exhaustion and resentment, but intentional kindness preserves your energy and fosters authentic relationships. Balanced relationships also allow for personal growth. When your connections are based on respect and mutual care, you gain support in your goals, encouragement in your challenges, and inspiration to grow. They provide a mirror to reflect your strengths and weaknesses without judgment, and they create an environment where you can thrive. In contrast, over-friendly relationships often hold you back, leaving you stuck in patterns of overgiving, compromise, and unacknowledged effort. Ultimately, building respectful, balanced relationships while staying kind is about reclaiming your power and creating harmony in your life. It is about being generous without being exploited, warm being exploited, warm without being diminished, and approachable without losing self-respect. When you master this, you experience the true freedom of friendliness, connections that uplift, boundaries that protect, and the life aligned with integrity, balance, and genuine human connection. As we come to the end, remember this: being friendly is a gift, but being too friendly without discernment can cost you your energy, your peace, and even your self-respect. Life is not about pleasing everyone or being endlessly available. It is about giving your kindness intentionally, protecting your boundaries and cultivating relationships that honor and uplift you. By understanding the difference between genuine kindness and over-friendliness, recognizing when people take advantage of you, setting clear boundaries without guilt, and investing in balanced, respectful relationships, you reclaim control over your life. You stop draining yourself for others who do not value you, and instead create a space where your generosity is respected and appreciated. Friendliness is most powerful when it is deliberate, confident, and aligned with your values. When you give from a place of strength rather than obligation, you attract the right people, protect your energy,